Today on CityCast Philly, for the next installment of our summer entertainment guide, where we help you make the most of the summer season. Today, we're headed to the ballpark. We're talking about the best way to enjoy a Phillies game at Citizens Bank Park. It's Thursday, June 15th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. OJ Spivey, you're a sports contributor for the Philadelphia Tribune. Take me out to the ball game, OJ. Describe the perfect scene of a perfect game at the Phillies.
Well, first of all, when you go to Citizens Bank Park in South Philly, it's a great atmosphere. It's a great ballpark. It's one of the retro ballparks that were built turn of the century, early 2000s. So you have that there. You have the ambiance. And no matter where you sit just about, you have the ambiance of seeing the skyline, the beautiful Philadelphia skyline, which continues to grow as the years go by. And it also gives you a feel of a classic ballpark. And what I like about going down there, and it's always a great family atmosphere as well. It's a great place to take your family. The Philly staff is always great. So whenever I go to Citizens Bank Park, no matter how good or bad the team is, I always have a good time.
That's great. Okay, what's a home run for you? Let's start with maybe when you first walk in, what's something that you got to do first?
First thing is, I like to get to the ballpark early. Because it's not, first of all, it's not as much traffic. And also, too, it gives you time to find your way around the ballpark, especially if you're a first timer or if you're taking someone with you for the first time. And the Phillies are great on their history as well. So they have many places where you can walk around and hang out, see the ballpark, as well as their Wall of Fame. They have an area where you can see their retired numbers. They have statues of their all-time greats like Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton. And hopefully someday we'll probably see guys like Ryan Howard and Jimmy Rollins, who won the World Series for them back in 2008. But there's so many great things. They actually have a play area for kids. So it's almost like a mini amusement park for kids and everything. Right. So that's one of the incentives to just kind of get there early if you want to take in the game, if you want to pay so much attention to the game.
Okay, so we walk into the stadium, we're walking to our seats. Where's the best seat at Citizens Bank Park?
Well, for me, I don't think there's a bad seat in the house. But for me, I like to sit right behind home plate. Of course, they're the more expensive seats. But here's the caveat to that. If you go in the upper level, in the upper deck, they're a little cheaper. But again, what's fun for me, what I mentioned before, is you get a great view of the whole entire ballpark and you get a great view of the skyline, especially in the evening as the sun goes down and the lights start to come on, and you get a good look at the big scoreboard too. So that's one of my favorite spots. But pretty much the ballpark is constructed to where you always get a nice view of the field no matter where you sit.
Right. And if you actually sit on that first level near the home plate, you can also see the big giant bell that we have that rings every time there's a home run.
Yes, the gigantic bell, which lights up, it stays lit for the whole game. So that's a great thing, too. And it also rings after every victory as well. So that's always a fun thing for fans to see as well.
Okay, now speaking of sounds, each of the players have their own walkout songs. What can we expect to hear if we're at the baseball game?
Well, what I like about this era of baseball players, these guys are very into the culture. And, you know, a lot of these guys are maybe from small towns or maybe from the country. So you'll hear anything from country music, but you'll also hear your share of hip hop. You'll hear some R&B. You'll hear a variety of different things because these guys, this generation, they're all in tune.
Yeah, someone had a song and I just opened my Shazam app and I was like, Shazam this, because I had never heard the song before. So it was pretty cool.
Well, it's a cool thing as well, too, Trinae, because what teams like the Phillies and our other Philly sports teams, what they'll do, especially pregame, they may give you the playlist of the players' walk-up songs. They may do it. If you get there early enough, you'll see it on the scoreboard pregame, and they may even give you a QR code to access the music on your apps and everything. So it's all interactive. So that's another great thing as well.
Okay, so I'm learning something here. There's a theme. Get there early.
Yes, yes.
Okay, what are some other like essential things I should maybe bring to the ballpark? Should I bring a baseball hat? What about a baseball mitt for the kids?
Well, yes, those are essentials. Those are our traditional essentials. But one thing I don't want to forget, I don't want to miss, is bring sunscreen.
Okay.
Because of course Citizens Bank Park is not a dome stadium, and I know they also have different stations at the ballpark where you can access sunscreen for free. But I would say
Oh,
bring that
okay, cool.
along with your hat, maybe a visor, and if you want to get there early and watch batting practice, it's good to bring a glove as well because you might just get a baseball or get a souvenir. And some people like to bring their own food, which the ballpark allows you to do so because sometimes you may have some type of dietary restrictions or you want to bring your own bottled water, different things like that. You don't want to go on the website and make sure that what you want to bring is not restricted, but they're pretty lenient as far as what you can bring.
See, that I didn't know. I didn't know you could bring your own food. And speaking of food, when I went to the ballpark recently, I was like, you know what? I'll splurge on the food and the drinks.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite restaurant or stand that you like to go to when you're at the park?
Well, first thing is when you go to the ballpark, this is another essential. Don't count calories that day. You're gonna cheat. Your diet is just gonna go straight out the window because this is not your father's concession stand. This is not your father's stadium where you're just relegated to just popcorn, hot dogs, peanuts. Of course, they have those as well. But one of my favorites is going to the barbecue stand and
Ooh.
get me a nice large turkey wing.
What?
Yes. So all types of barbecue. They had the Bulls barbecue there. Also, I like getting a nice chicken sandwich. And again, you're not relegated to just the regular traditional food. It's just so many varieties. And what's great about it as well is it's so many varieties of what Philly is known for. You can get the best cheesesteaks in town. If you want the crab fries, as we know, you can get that as
Yes, crab
well.
fries with the cheese dipping sauce.
Yes, and you can even get funnel cake. Like funnel cake is one of my favorites. So I like me a good sandwich or a good turkey leg, or and I want to finish it off with maybe some ice cream or some funnel cake, or maybe some ice cream on the funnel cake. So
Ooh, okay. Okay, so now we got our seats, we got our food, we got our snacks, and obviously there's people probably drinking beer or, sodas and things like that. What else might we see? So last time I was there, I saw a bunch of kids like going to this really small part of the stadium
yes.
and they were talking with the ball girls.
Yeah. So another thing, again, the Phillies have always been great as far as programs for kids. And I forget the actual name of it, but it's actually a miniature ballpark within the stadium where kids can go and play wiffle ball. And if you're lucky on a said theme day, you may play wiffle ball with one of the Phillies greats or one of the retired players. They may, stop
Oh.
by and try to play with the kids or give some autographs or different things like that.
Nice. Now we got the ball girls, and then of course the one of the main attractions
hmm
of a Philadelphia Phillies baseball game. The Fanatic comes on his four-wheeler across the field.
hmm
What are some of your favorite memories of the Fanatic?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to meet the Fanatic a number of times,
Oh
whether
wow,
it's at a
you met the
game or
Fanatic.
different events and everything. And he's a nice guy. They call him friend of the Fanatic, but he's a great guy and he's a staple. And the kids love him. And again, the adults want to take photos with him as well. So
Right.
it's just always great when he's around.
And we actually have an episode that people can listen back to. We talked with a sports writer from ESPN about where we got the Fanatic and
hmm
how the Fanatic is actually a model for other mascots in baseball and in sports. So I also, before we get to the next session, I gotta let everyone know that OJ is sporting some nice gear. He's got a red Phillies hat and a classic Phillies jersey. Whose jersey are you wearing?
I'm actually wearing Bryce Harper's jersey. And
Yeah.
during this time, when I'm in the press box and everything, they always had a rule, no cheering in the press box. But me being a Philadelphia native,
Ah,
just for talking to you, Trinae, I'm able to wear my Phillies gear. So,
Okay, so according to the internet, they say that the Phillies have a lot of rivals, from the New York Mets to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Are there any must watch matchups this summer?
well, you definitely want to go to a Phillies Mets game. They're the arch rivals. And the caveat to that is a lot of Mets fans like to come down from New York and infiltrate the stadium. So, you kind of want to drown out the
Oh,
Mets fans, whenever you're at the ballpark. The Pirates, they're pretty good this year, actually. And they kind of goes way back to before our time, like the 1970s and all. And don't forget about the Atlanta Braves as well,
okay.
because that's one of their other arch rivals. And on their way to the World Series last year, the Phillies did knock out the Braves. So that's another big rivalry there as well.
Are there any top players that are on your radar this season, OJ?
Yes. So, of course, you have the standards as far as Bryce Harper. Reese Hoskins is unfortunately out for the year with an injury. You have the Schwarber, Kyle Schwarber, who they're naming drinks and sandwiches after. But you also have the big free agent name, Trey Turner, who came over from the Los Angeles Dodgers. So you want to see how he incorporates himself into the team this year. Struggling a little bit, but we still got a ways to go with the
Okay.
team. So that's one player that I'm going to keep my eye on.
Now, Citizens Bank Park also hosts special themed game nights, right?
Hmm.
So there's a Jewish heritage celebration, there's a Pride Night on June 23rd, and there's a Xfinity fireworks show on June 30th. Do you have any that are favorites to you, favorites on your list?
Well, all of the theme nights that you mentioned, Trinae, are great. They also have a Sound of Philly theme night, and they have a alumni weekend where every year they incorporate a new player or coach to their Wall of Fame.
Now, I'm going to take you back to the time when the vet was up and running. Okay. That was my first time going to a Phillies baseball game. And I just remember there was the fireworks. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I was like 7 or something like that.
Yes.
And I remember my mom gave me a bag of Doritos and I lost a tooth that night. So special moments in my life. Speaking of special nights, when I went to a game, a recent game, it was about like a month ago. It was Dollar Dog Night, which means hot dogs at the stadium were $1.
Hmm.
So you could imagine the lines were really, really long. But then things took a turn. Like they went really left field.
Hmm.
People started throwing the hot dogs. They were taking the aluminum wrapper from, the hot dog and throwing it across the aisle. Is that fair or is that a foul?
Well, I call it foul. I mean, are we back in high school or are we back
Right.
in, lunchtime at the cafeteria where we're having a food fight and all?
Right.
And I get it, Dollar Dog Night is always going to bring the fans out. And, you top that off with, drinking a little bit and, you're going to have nights like that. And, Philly fans, they have certain reputations around the country and all, and you don't want to feed into that and everything. But I will say this about Dollar Dog Night or any night, I would say check out their veggie dogs as well too. And again, if you have any type of dietary restrictions, they have vegan concessions, they have gluten-free concessions. So if I'm going to get a good veggie dog and everything, I certainly don't want to throw
Yeah, right.
it.
Anyway, OJ, I love baseball traditions
Hmm.
like, doing the wave, and seeing everyone like you just kind of come together. Are there any like Philly fan traditions that you like to do?
Other than boo, that's that's the number one thing you got to do because being a Philly fan, you're trained to boo as far as one of your first words as a baby. So when you're
Right.
bored,
It's like
so
usually dada and boo.
yes. So well, one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure, as a Philly fan, you're almost an extra coach. So if you watch your team
Ah.
kind of dogging it a little bit or they're not hustling and everything, you want to let them hear it, maybe without booing, but you want to let them know to just give your best effort. And of course, you always want to give it to the other team. So, and, let them know how bad they are and everything. So that's kind of like my favorite tradition.
All right. That was OJ Spivey, Philadelphia Tribune sports contributor. Thank you so much for all these recommendations on how to enjoy a Phillies game this summer. And thanks for joining me on CityCast Philly.
Thanks, Trinae. Always a pleasure.
If you want to learn more about summertime activities in Philly, check out the CityCast Philly Summer Entertainment Guide in our newsletter. We'll have a link in our show notes. And here's what else Philly's talking about. In a press conference Wednesday, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro said the demolition of the collapsed bridge on I-95 is expected to be completed on Thursday.
I am competitive as hell. I want to get this road reopened as quickly as possible.
According to KYW, Shapiro also pledged that crews would work 24/7 around the clock to reopen this section of the interstate as soon as possible. His office is also going to set up a live stream to the rebuild so that the public can see the progress. Shapiro did not give an exact timeline on when the repairs would be complete. And SZA and Lizzo will headline Made in America this year. According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, this is the first time two women are headliners. The lineup also includes Miguel, Lotto, Ice Spice, Mace, Cameron, and Lil Yachty. The 2-day music festival happens down at the Parkway on Labor Day weekend. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this episode about going to the ballpark, you gotta tell your friend who loves the Phillies. Rate the show, leave us a review, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter too. It's called Hey Philly. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the Friday News Roundup. Bye.